At this early stage of the preseason, obviously as the team captain, what is kind of your goal in terms of maybe kind of being the coach on the field sort of thing and kind of leading the guys into a new season?
Yeah, it's always the same. I don't think that part of it ever changes. You want to integrate the new guys. You want to make sure that they're comfortable. You want to make sure that they feel good in this environment. And ultimately, you want to keep it light, but make sure that it's serious. I think that, as a club, 2 years in now, we've experienced a little bit of success. We've gotten a taste of it. What we're all about as a group, we're kind of forming our identity. And we want the new guys that come in to feel comfortable, but also to add to that and to contribute to that. And so wherever they're coming from, whether that be homegrowns or college or different clubs around MLS or different clubs around the world, we want to make sure that the transition is pretty seamless for them, because I know for a fact going into a new team, it can be daunting at times. And so just making sure all the guys are comfortable so they can hit the ground running with what Gary's asking of them. I think that's the most important thing, and I think our group does a really good job of that.
Next, we'll go to Drake Hills of the Tennessean. Go ahead, Drake.
Yeah, what's up, Dax? I remember last year at the beginning of the year, Walker was maybe sarcastic, maybe he was serious about you doing quite well on the fitness test. So I'm curious to know, are you going back to back on that? And my second part of that question is, with you and Sean being more seasoned this time around as you guys are reuniting, what's it like playing with him again or training with him at least to start, and how is he gelling in the locker room?
As the grizzled vet of the group, you always recognize that the player, you get a year older and the players coming into the locker room continue to get younger and younger. And so when you look across the table and there's guys half your age there, kind of hits you in the face a little bit. You wonder where all the time went, but luckily the fitness part of it is still pretty good. It's I don't think it's as good as it used to be, but it's still pretty good. So it's up there. I'm pleased with. Actually, our whole team was very fit coming into this preseason. I think this is one of the fittest groups that I've ever been a part of right now. And you can ask the fitness coach or Gary that, and they'll probably echo those comments. And so it's very impressive. But as far as reuniting with Sean, yeah, it's pretty seamless. Sean's a great player. He's proven that throughout his time in MLS. And even when we played together at Red Bull, he made me a better player by consistently bringing his quality and his attitude in training at Red Bull. He wasn't playing much on the field. We had a pretty durable midfield back in those Red Bull days when Sean was coming up. It was pretty regularly me, Sasha, Kleshtin, and Felipe playing in the middle there. But his attitude was infectious. He's a perfect case study for all young players coming into a good team of how to make the guys in front of you better and how to push the guys in front of you to make sure that they're playing at their best. And so it's just been great for me to watch his career blossom. Even after I left Red Bull, I was rooting for him to continue to be successful, and now reuniting, 6-7 years later, however many years it has been, it's funny how the game comes full circle. And so I'm very happy that he chose to come to Nashville. I'm very happy that he chose to make our team better, because ultimately that's what he does. It's going to be a very fun year playing with him.
Thank you, Dax. Next, we'll go to Ben Wright of Broadway Sports Media. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, Dax, I'm just kind of curious. Obviously, in 2020, you guys started the season in February, and then last year you started in April, and now you're back to February. What does that do for just your off-season routine? Does that change it much, or is it just kind of business as usual?
I would say it doesn't change much. Honestly, as professionals, part of your job is to make sure that you're ready to go whenever the season starts. And so I always like to take 2 or 3 weeks off, totally recharge the batteries, completely unplug from the game, and spend a lot of time with family. Make sure you go to the beach a little bit and relax and enjoy your off season, because we all know that it's a very long season. So once that's over with, it's time to get going again. It's time to continue to stay fit. I've been pretty lucky throughout my whole life that even if I don't do much for a few weeks, I don't lose much fitness. I'm still able to run pretty easily. So I thank my parents for that. I think I have good genes. But for the most part, like I said before, guys came in fit, guys came in ready to go. And I think that makes the coaching staff's job a lot easier preparing training sessions, knowing that you have a fit team and you don't have to necessarily work on, just improving guys' fitness constantly. I know in the first 3 years of our existence, I think that's kind of been a small frustration that, bringing players in at different times and coming from different leagues and different countries, guys' fitness levels were different. They weren't always on the same page. And now in this preseason, like I said, it's some of the fittest I've ever seen a whole team be. So nothing changes too much from that standpoint, but regardless of when the first game of the season is, our group will be ready to go.
Thank you, Dax. Next, we'll go to Claudio Villalobos. Go ahead, Claudio.
Thank you, Matt. Dax, I got like three issues here, 3 topics. First of all is how many times really, I mean, you've been in the MLS a long time, you had the chance to actually come back from 2 good seasons and probably get the potential to have an even better one because of the guys that are coming in to help you, like Sean in this case. That's one. The second one is we saw you on this side of the aisle last year, commenting games and stuff. Is that the next step in your career after you decide to retire? I mean, do you want to join us on this side, or is it something that you? And then the other one is how many? And the other one is I'm just curious. What's the feeling of a player like you with your experience when you know, hey, this year I'm gonna even be I'm gonna be a captain of a team on a new stadium, on a brand new venue. What's that feeling on you?
Okay, there's a lot there. I'm going to try to remember all of them, and I'm going to go reverse order for you, okay? So when I first was thinking about where my career was going to go after I left the Chicago Fire, one of the main, I think, appealing aspects of coming to Nashville was knowing that I would hopefully be able to be a part of opening a brand new stadium. That's something that I had never experienced in my career, and that's something that was very appealing to me. And now that 2022 is upon us and we have an opening date for a brand new stadium, the biggest soccer-specific stadium in North America, I believe. Apologies if I'm butchering that, but I do believe that's true. It gives me butterflies. It gives me goosebumps actually thinking about it. And so the one thing that I have to say going along with that is that my wife is pregnant, and her due date is April 29th. So we're gonna see if we can't manipulate that kid to come either a little bit earlier or a little bit later, so I can still be a part of it, because that's something you don't want to miss, is the birth of a child. And so it's something that obviously I've thought about. I think it gives me chills just thinking about 30,000 Nashville SC fans singing and supporting us against the Philadelphia Union on May 1st. It's something that I know I'm going to take a lot of pride in, and I know our club and our entire city should take a lot of pride in. So to answer the second question, I've answered this question a few times, but the media side of things definitely appeals to me. I haven't made a final decision yet on exactly where I want to be when my career is over, but I want to stay involved in the game of soccer. So whether that is media, whether that is coaching, whether that's a more technical role in a front office, I want to try to experience all of that. And right now, if I can get experience in media while I'm still playing, I feel like there's no greater practice than doing that. And I think it's unique for the fans. They get a perspective of a guy who is still in the locker room and still on the field every day. So I don't think that's something that happens too often in professional sports. And so I feel like it's beneficial for both sides of the coin. And then to answer your first question, which I am forgetting now. Matt, you remember it?
Yeah.
Go ahead and ask it again. The first part? What was the first part, Claudio?
Claudia, do you remember the first part of the question? We'll come back to Claudia. We'll go now to Gentry Ashton of the Tennessee. Go ahead, Gentry.
Yeah, hey, Dax. I'm curious how disappointing the end of the season was for you, for the team, and how everybody's kind of tried to rebound from that. And also, as you enter year 3, given the success that Nashville's had, is it fair to start looking at this team as a contender for, the truly big trophies, Porter Shield, championships, that kind of thing?
Yeah, it was extremely disappointing. I don't think I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to figure out that anytime you end a season without lifting a trophy, every team is going to be disappointed. I think unless you win a Supporter Shield or an Open Cup or ultimately MLS Cup, you can't be satisfied. You can't be happy with how the season ended. And then, just there's a lot of things you look back on, and losing in penalties is cruel. It's harsh. It's a very difficult way to go out because ultimately it is a crapshoot. And when you're playing against a team in their home stadium, they have momentum, and they have a fantastic goalkeeper who's very good at penalties. It's frustrating and it's difficult, and losing that way is it's something that I don't think any player will ever get used to. It's always extra painful, and so it stings. It still hurts to think about, but ultimately we should be proud of what we've accomplished in our first 2 years. We know we can win playoff games. I think the next step for us is making sure that when we are ending a season or when we are jockeying for a position in the playoffs, I think home field is extremely important, right? And I think that the game against the Philadelphia Union, I think it looks a lot different if that game is in Nashville. That's just my opinion. Obviously, we don't know exactly how things would have played out. You still have to play the game. But that means that the games at the end of the regular season are extremely important. And dropped points, even in the middle or beginning of the season, it's extremely important because you want to make sure that you're giving yourself the best chance to win. And to give yourself the best chance to win, especially in our case with how strong we are at home, you want to be playing at home in the playoffs when the games matter the most. And so that's stuff we can look back on and try to improve on for this year. I think we've proven in our first 2 years that we are going to be competitive no matter what conference we play in, no matter what stadium we're playing in, no matter what the opponent is. We're going to be in the game. We're going to be right there with a shot to win any game we play in. And, that's all really you can ask. And so we will be continuing to fight for championships. I think that's something that as a club, you have to have that. You have to have that goal in the back of your head constantly, because if you don't, then you're going backwards. And so as a club, we want to continue to move forward, and lifting trophies is something that ultimately every player wants to do.
Tim Sullivan, you're on with Dax McCarty. Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, Dex, I think when you came from Chicago Fire, you weren't coming directly from Red Bull, but some of the important pieces that have been added in the last couple of years, Alex and Sean, both came directly from Red Bull. With two clubs that have such a different stylistic identity, what is it that about, the style that you guys play now that makes Red Bull guys like Alex and Sean such good fits for Nashville SC?
Well, I think discipline is definitely one of the areas that is very important in Gary's mind. Players that are disciplined, players that know exactly how to fulfill certain types of roles. I think at Red Bull, like you said, it's a very specific style of play, a very specific system, and it's predicated mainly on a high pressing type of scenario. And so, when I would assume when Gary's looking at players, having a high work rate and being able to have a high work rate on the defensive side of the ball is something that's very important. And that's something that I think all successful teams have in common, is the ability to keep shutouts in the back. And part of doing that is being able to press high, but it's also being able to, maybe play in a little bit of a lower block, a medium block, a low block, but defend with purpose, right? And I think we've seen through our first 2 years in MLS, we've had one of the best defensive records in the league last year and in 2020. So that's the first thing that you see. But I think Red Bull, the success that they've had over the last 10 years as far as being able to be competitive and make the playoffs, I think it speaks for itself. And ultimately, I think when you're building a team and when you're a coach and you look around at other teams and players in other teams, you want to know if they are capable of winning games. And Red Bull has been able to produce seasons where they win plenty of games consistently. And so ultimately you need to get winners on your team if you want to be a winning team. And so Alex and Sean, coming from Red Bull, they're used to a winning culture, they're used to a winning mentality, and that's something that I think is very important when you are trying to add to your team.
Thank you, Dax. We'll swing it back over to Claudio. Go ahead, Claudio.
Dax, well, the question I asked earlier was pretty much you touched it already anyways, about how is it the feeling about, you have two good regular seasons already on your belt, and then all of a sudden you get a guy, Sean, coming in, making you stronger. Yeah, and that probably makes you feel better in terms of how that's going to be. And then I'm going to add this to you. The coach said the other day that one of the things that he expects on the West Conference is the fact that these teams are more ball control oriented. Is that something that you see as a well? That's going to probably increase your workload, isn't it?
Yeah, so to address the first part of the question that I forgot, yeah, bringing in guys like Sean, it's not just him. It's guys like Sean, it's guys like Teal Bunbury, guys like Ethan Zubek, right? It's probably, pieces that we're still looking to add. All of these players, they come in and they make a difference because they add to the depth of your team. And I think we saw a very clear upgrade from 2020 to last year in our depth and the amount of players that we were able to rely on to play heavy minutes for us. And I think you're going to see an even bigger improvement in that area of depth from 2021 to now this year. And the best part about bringing in guys like Teal and guys like Ethan and guys like Sean is they're not satisfied when they're not playing. They're going to continue to push players that might be playing ahead of them. They're going to continue to make players better. I think that they are going to just add to the overall quality of the group. And when you have, look, you guys can ask Gary this, but when Gary has 20 to 25 first-team players that he can rely on regularly, that all want to be on the field, it makes his job harder. And ultimately, any head coach will tell you that they want their job to be hard. They want it to be difficult to pick a starting 11 every game because that means that you're going to be competing in every competition that you're in. So I fully expect us to be competing in every competition that we're in. As far as moving to the West Coast, there are subtle differences, I think. I think that the West Coast teams, they do have a style about them that is very ball control oriented, possession style. A lot of teams want to play on the front foot and use possession. I don't think it's that different from how the Eastern Conference plays, but it'll be an adjustment for sure. I think no more than 2 or 3 years ago, this wasn't really an issue because you played every team in the league at least one time. But now with the more teams that we've added, with COVID issues, travel restrictions, you've had to go more Eastern Conference based, and then Western Conference teams stay and play the Western Conference teams. And so us as a team in Nashville, we haven't really had a big taste of what the Western Conference is like. And so there will be adjustments up and down the board. Obviously, the travel schedule, everyone's going to have to get used to it. The beginning of the season is going to be a challenge that we're going to have to get used to. But ultimately, we don't want to change too much what we're about as a team. And that is being competitive in every game, trying to win every single game, and making adjustments on the fly that are going to give us the best chance to win. So I think everyone's looking forward to the challenge. I don't think anyone's scared about moving conferences. I just think it's another challenge in the history of Nashville SC that we will have to attack head on, and I know everyone's excited about it.